Hello, my name is Larry Belfield. Welcome to the show. Today, we are talking about episode 12. I thank you for joining me. We're in the middle of a presentation on how real estate began. We started off with the Louisiana Purchase and we moved on to the church, and now we're going through the reasons why there is so many men that take over the world. We're at a portion where there are a lot of people, or a lot of history over being taken over, being usurped, and we're going to delve into that today. So we're in the Middle East. As I researched the root history of real estate, I found myself researching the foundation of history itself. The acquisition of new land is a story that starts before time began. About 1,000 years before the Greece, before year one. Greece and its philosophy began to reach around the world. This is one of the first societies to have multiple cities. And cities just as you know them today. See, Greece wasn't a state, however. They had several cities, sculpting, drama, philosophy, politics, were at the forefront of the world. At this time in history, the Persian Empire was spreading rampant. They almost covered the entire world, except for one place. The story of the 300 Spartans have been renewed in years of late. But the stand that those men made began the foundation of our present world. The stand Leonidas and the Spartans seemed like a loss. However, when you look at how land and property are attained, the system they fought against shared many of the same values of the Greeks. In 900 BC, the Persian Empire was at the height of human evolution. They believed in freedom, democracy, and the rights. The property rights were much as the same today. The reason we come to this place was because this empire takes over the entire world. Everything on the time map. Now, the kingdom of Persia. Xerxes, one of the first worldwide conquerors. Xerxes takes over the world, all except for what is now known as Greece. See, we can track all the people to African descent. And the oldest evidence of civilization we can find belongs to these 10 kings we're able to track back in Africa. Now, there are many more, but it's been so much time that their buildings, none of their technology, nor their people have survived. But one of these kings are King Solomon. Now, Solomon was known for being one of the richest kings who ever lived. Under his rule, the people had the time to create a writing, language, and record down all the kings and kingdoms and people that led up to that present day. Now, this is very important. This is the written and documented history of the people of the land. Now, this accumulations of writings, teachings, lineages, and land rights are what are now known as the Bible. These people created a text that established who is the owner and keeper of these lands, where they come from, and where they are now. Now we know who owns the land. Now this is the lineage of man, and where we are from, and who we are. What belongs to their people. Religious freedom. King Solomon. Original line of the kings. You see? They backtracked their lineage. The Torah. One kingdom. The world is united under Persia. However, not everyone agrees with their way of life. And after they had taken over the Byzantine Empire, the Spartans, see, if you had land or property, or if you want land or property, you had to go through them to get it. So this leads us to the Spartans. Now, after Thermopylae falls, the region is pretty unsafe for a few generations. However, 30 cities spring up out of this triumph for the Greek. 30 Greek cities. Now, 300 years later comes a man known for his greatness. In fact, his name is Alexander the Great. Now, I didn't want to actually talk about Alexander the Great and all these people, but it led to talking about Alexander the Great. And he did, in his rule, I know they said he enslaved people and, he murdered people, but really what happened is he created 12 cities that are still in use today. And he created the modern road system. Not the modern road system, but the pathways and the road systems he used to conquer the world are the same ways that we use as freeways, as neighborhood pathways, as trailways. We still use them today. Now, he takes over most of Persia, except for India. But Alexander the Great lays the foundation for what is Rome today, and modern day cities and roads. Now, 300 years after Alexander the Great. Now, if you can believe in the Persian kingdom, Persia, the Bible being written, Alexander the Great, you can probably understand this. 300 years after Alexander the Great arises a man that speaks a message that unites all the people of the world. He amasses thousands of followers in his name, and the people claim that he is the new king, better than all the rest. See, his deeds gain him so much acclaim that when he comes to the city, the whole city knows him. And when he leaves, the whole city follows. For the people, this is revelation. They believe in him. They call on him. They trust his word. And some want him to be king, and some already praise him as a king. This certainly upsets all those in power already, because the last 10 men in recorded history that has become conquerors this big, they kill at whim, they enslave their captives, and your life will never be the same. We must pay tribute to or do their will for our own lives' sake. No one in power ever survives or keeps their quality of life after an invasion like this happens. So when the knowledge of a new conqueror is on the rise, many heads of state begin to panic. As politics are today, things got nasty. Disputers, religious royalty, and kings began to worry about this man and his following. They sent spies and false speakers to disrupt and confuse his message. However, this man only outsmarted those that hated him. He fooled them that tried to trick him, and he stopped violence where people were trying to kill him. And when they actually succeeded and captured him, he let them imprison him and torture him, and then they murdered him. Now this was a sentence for murderers. Now he was around all of his family, all of his followers, and all of heaven. Now he could have said anything at this moment, and he knew those that knew him, that hear his word, those that know his story will see this moment. And for as long as they know him, as long as his word stands, as long as God's promise stands, the people will fight over this moment. He never amounted a defense plan. Even after all the doubt, the fighting, the cheating, the stealing, the corruption of his friends, after he was not received by his own, they lied on him, cheated, and imprisoned him. They ripped the flesh from his bones, hung him on a cross like the worst kind of criminal. Then, to make him die quicker, They stabbed him in his side with a spear. They mocked him. They placed a crown of thorns on his head. Most of this was highly unusual. See, most of what this man went through was man-made. The people in power of the day thought their lives were at stake. So they sent what is now known as modern-day lobbyists to upset and disrupt his teachings. However, he only taught peace and fought a spiritual fight. He treated those that disagreed with him as children, and he would not stoop down to their level. This intrigued the religious royalty. You see, he never talked with authority. When he talked with the authority of the area and the people of the town, he would always have a great welcome. And when he returned, he would always have a great welcome. See, when he approached a new region, he would sometimes have trouble entering with so many people. He had no problem going a whole other direction. See, he knew his presence disrupted things and made people feel uneasy. The first king, with thousands at his disposal, chose to go around areas he was not wanted. This is the exact opposite. You don't get the fact that Jesus had thousands. You don't get the fact that he had thousands of people with him. They lived on his word. He had the power to overthrow a city, any city, to make anyone obey him. What does he do? He sends scouts before him to see if he will be welcome. And if not, Jesus will tell whoever's there and whoever's following that, hey, we can't go there. They don't want us there. This is the same rules of engagement we do with our military. We don't attack first. We don't invade. We support and defend. This is the type of person Jesus was. One that stopped conflict and protected people and their beliefs. However, he was betrayed by his own disciples, none less. He had his flesh ripped from his bones, and he was made to carry a cross, which is all separate sentences. Then he was crucified, which is another separate. See, you must understand the significance of this. Most people think that Jesus was just crucified. See, however, Jesus suffered several punishments. The first, most common punishment was whipping or caning around for a piece of wood. Capital punishment was being hung on a cross. See, the thieves were to carry the lumber to the crucifixion sites for those that were going to be hung on them. See, first timers, they'll get whipped. However, if you're going to the law frequently, they would whip you more, longer, and then they would use more harsher stuff. Now, that leads us to pieces of bone and glass where it'll cut you. See, that'll tear the flesh off a man. But you were prescribed so many lashes depending on your offense. Now, here's the problem. See, the man had no offense, so there was no number of lashes being administered. See, the guards took turns beating him all night long. This is unprecedented, unless they have some sort of personal grudge against this man. See, they mocked him. Now, this is out of the ordinary because they're paid to carry out such proceedings. They're not doing this for fun. They're not street thugs or bar people just meeting them random guys. They're paid to do this. So how can you waste all of this energy in mocking when you're paid to do man after man after man? I'm going to give this guy 10 and that guy 10 and that guy 5. How do I have the energy to mock, especially if I've been doing this for 30 years? See, this is out of the ordinary. This looks like they're terrorizing this one man. Or they were terrorizing him all the time like this. See, then they chained him to a cross. They nailed him to a cross. And made him take it they chained him to the cross first. To make him take it to the crucifixion site. See, Jesus was so mangled and torn up that when a man sees him, he starts to help him. But that's not the issue. The greater issue is that you are not allowed to help these men that are undergoing this punishment. But Jesus was so badly mangled, he was so hurt, that the guards didn't even stop the man from trying to help him. After the burden of actually carrying a cross, like they crucified him on it. And you're talking about a man that had the power of God, where any word he said, he could have brought thousands of men at his disposal to extinguish any force, any city, any army. But he suffered instead. He suffered every punishment man had to offer. And with his dying breath, he asked God for one thing: to forgive them, for they know not what they do.